The Backdoor GAA Podcast for 2023 is now brought to you by Steede Motor Group. For your personalised vehicle shopping experience, visit steedemotorgroup.ie. We are now delighted to announce our second sponsor of the podcast. Harper Finlay are a professional service recruitment company operating nationwide and are dedicated to helping people find their dream job.
So delighted now to be joined by former Kilkenny hurler Brian Hogan and Galway legend Cyril Farrell to look ahead to this weekend's Leinster final between Galway and Kilkenny in GAA headquarters at 4 o'clock on Sunday. A huge game for both counties to look forward to this weekend. Brian, just coming to you first, what's the kind of dynamic like for you this weekend? Derek Ling, your former teammate, Henry Sheffield, your former teammate, coming up against each other in this game.
There's no dynamic for me, Paul. I'm just a spectator on the sideline like everyone else watching it. The boys are doing their thing. I suppose there was a bit of a novelty last year, obviously, with Henry, on the sideline for Galway and whatever else, but we're used to it now. He's doing his thing. Look, I guess we're going up as any other Kilkenny supporter, hoping to see our team perform and get a result. Simple as that. Things move on very quickly in sport. The kind of Brian was there for so long. We thought, what would life be like without after Brian? There we are 6 months down the line, and Derek is in situ, and we're well used to it, and he's kind of put his own stamp on the team. So it's a time moves on, and as Brian would have said, players move on and the jersey stays the same. Well, there's nothing to be said for the management, I suppose.
Is it strange watching Kilkenny without Brian on the line?
I wouldn't say strange. I suppose. Look, I suppose your championship now. This in the league. All right. Seen Derek on the sideline. He was there as a selector. We kind of got used to it, but to be honest, it's not really. You're looking more at the team and the players, from my perspective anyway. Might be for the players in the dressing room, or some of the older guys, the likes of TJ and Richie and that, who have been used to having Brian there for so long. Just having that different dynamic now, because Derek is quite a different character to Brian, and would be very much his own man. So I would imagine from a player's perspective in the dressing room, there was a bit of getting used to, in the initial couple of weeks and months, Derek putting his own stamp on things. But from a spectator's point of view, I don't think so. It's just about the team and how they're performing.
Yeah, just for the opening few minutes of the podcast, we are going to focus on the Kilkenny perspective of things heading into the Leinster final this weekend. Sir, what have you made of the Cats so far?
I look at, from my experience with them, they're always very hard to beat, and whoever takes over the team in Kilkenny after your Brian Calder, and when you take a Kilkenny team, you're expected to win All Ireland. You're not hoping. That the belief is there that they're good enough to win All Ireland, regardless of what players they have. Now there are a few injuries they're supposed to have, like Mikey Butler, these is out for the weekend, and Adrian Mullen would be a big loss. And, I don't know what the story is with Billy Drennan, whether he's back. He had a lovely league, very, very good hurler, but they're always hard to beat, and people kind of nearly forget, okay, Brian Cody has moved on, but Derek Ling is there. He's his own man, but he's also very good, knows the club structure, but also came through the under-8 ranks himself as a manager. And last year, Brian had the team in All Ireland and only beaten a puck of a ball with all said and done, and mightn't be heard much down here in Galway, but they're going for 4 in a row in Leinster. Now, our record against them, while we've been getting into finals, I think we've been in 10 or that. I think we've won 2 or 3, but Kilkenny have the upper hand by a mile, and it's and even going back to last year's final, I'd say Henry got a shock the way our lads performed against Kilkenny, fell flat altogether. Now, we're fine the next day out, but and the day when there was a cup at stake, we didn't do it. So we have to kind of take the game to Kilkenny, need to get a bit of consistency in it and go for broke, not be coming from behind. If you give Kilkenny a 10-point lead at half-time, I guarantee you won't beat them.
Is that physically the last few years, sir, where Kilkenny have bullied Galway?
I don't know, is it physically? It's just like Galway. No, there wouldn't be that. Look at the Galway wouldn't be as strong as anyone. Like when they won the All Ireland there were teams like big teams. It's like Limerick now when you win everything is supposed to be very strong. No, these lads are very fit. They're all very fit. They're nearly full time. They're as good as full time professionals. Nearly all county teams now. But it's just like the consistency. Like some days good, more days not. Like even the last day against Dublin, got out of jail. Like but you know, for most of the game. We were reactive, like we weren't setting the pace. The next day we have to be forcing the pace from the start, like have Kilkenny reacting to it rather than the other way around. Others be proactive, set our game on and get our game going. You know what I mean? And get whatever game plan we have, get on top of it straight away, and don't let Kilkenny get into their game plan. It's all game plans that's to go around now, but you know you have to win your ball. That's the you can have all the game plans you like, but you have to win your ball and then do the game plan with it. Or like it's like the stats. So there's only one stat that counts at the end of the day when all is said and done. That's the scoreboard. And that's what you want every lad thinking about, really. Tick over the scoreboard, keep it stretching as much as you can, and keep ahead as much as you can. That's the way to win the games. It's hard to keep going from behind. We did it against Kilkenny it was first or second round, came from 6 points down to draw. We did it against Dublin, come from 10 points to 12 at one stage to draw. But if you keep doing that, you're going to get caught. We need to get out and go in and start leading from the front and win from the front.
Just on that, Brian, has Kilkenny's style evolved under Derek, or is it very much the same?
No, I'd say it has evolved. You know, I know, say the last few years, O'Brien was trying to, you know, bring more of that kind of playing through the lines, you know, and moving away maybe from the more direct route that we would have been accustomed to over the previous couple of years. That's partly, I'd say, just due to the evolution of the game and the players at hand. You know, when I was playing, and that's obviously a good few years ago now, you know, we were quite fortunate. We'd been very strong ball winners, so you could afford to go that bit more direct. But equally, like, it's about retaining possession as well and trying to maximise the value out of the ball when you do have it. So, you know, Brian you could see that kind of evolution beginning under Brian. I would say that's probably ramped up even more with Derek, you know, in the league matches and, you know, the championship matches so far, you know, where it is very much, you know, giving the ball to the first line, you know, to the full back line, and then trying to work it through and moving it up the pitch. That said, you know, that's fine, you know, when you've got time on the ball, you know, and the league is a league, and even the earlier stages of the championship, you know, the challenge comes when the pressure comes on against the better teams, is then can you execute that kind of style of play? And, you know, that's where your touch and your composure has to be really on point, you know. And you know, I'd say the league final against Limerick down in Páirc Uí Chaoimh was probably the last time since the All Ireland final last year that the lads would have experienced that kind of pressure, that kind of, you know, intensity. And, you know, we wasted a lot of ball that day, you know, where we tried to work it out and then, you know, ended up delivering it from the wrong positions on the pitch, you know, from too deep, and ended up hitting Barry Nash quite a bit, you know, and you know, with the ball, and that was, you know, it didn't work out for us, and that obviously drew Limerick onto it. So in terms of the evolution, yeah, like Derek, you know, and through, I suppose, Conor Phelan as a trainer, and Rice and Peter, you know, they have certainly tried to evolve that game, and it's very evident, you know, and look, the lads are all very comfortable ball winners, but are ball players. But, you know, again, I suppose the template or the standard bearer for that kind of play is obviously Limerick, and the way they can move the ball in the triangles and get themselves into scoring positions. So it'll be interesting to see, you know, against Galway now on Sunday, because, like, Galway will physically, you know, have no problem going toe to toe with Kilkenny. Cyril is right, you know, physically they're as strong and as capable of anyone, provided they bring mentally, they're ready for, you know, to bring what they have, what they're capable of. And, you know, I think from Kilkenny's perspective, I'm interested to see how they react to that and how they use the ball.
And Cyril, to bring in here, why have Galway struggled with consistency so far? Because, like, going on that first half performance against Dublin, like Henry Shevlin alluded that the performance wasn't good enough, and I think most people would agree that first half performance against Dublin will not beat any team left in this championship.
Well, there seemed to be no energy like at all. They weren't moving at all. They were like Murphy and Goals had to put it into their pocket before they moved. But they just didn't seem to be they were reacting to things rather than being proactive. But after saying that now, you have to give credit to Dublin. Like Micheál Donoghue and Franny Ford and Noel Larkin, they would know the Galway lads inside out. They had their matchups very well done, and they dictated the pace. They set their sweeper in, the Burke lad up front. But like they had everything kind of covered. Like all their half back line came forward in at times in the first half and scored. The full back came forward and got 2 points from play. That's the kind of a game. And Brian has alluded to it there, like they were playing short and running off the shoulder. At times they didn't need a hurl at all. But you need to be very fit for it. But you also have to have everything kind of really precise and on the button. You see, that game is lovely, but when you meet a team that's as good as you had, or maybe tackling very hard, next thing the ball will break down, and then you have all these famous rooks. And however, you have to fight in for your ball again. But I think Galway on Sunday have to fight a lot more for every ball to gain possession and then put their game plan into action. But like Galway, traditionally, or Kilkenny would go long because they'd have the players to do that. No, I think Galway should go long at times as well, because to me, like Conor Whelan has been starved the ball, you know, in the championship so far. He's inside in his own, he's making runs, no ball going in there. They're shooting for it outside, which is fine if it goes over. A lot of the time it won't. It's just going wide, and he's kind of frustrated. If they have Brian Concannon back, there's no doubt about it. Whelan and Concannon full forward line will bother anyone, you know. And I was saying there, Conor Cooney needs to get back to form. Now, I don't know the team pick for Sunday, but like it seems Mannion, Cathal Mannion won't be fit, so he will be a big loss. Like, but they'll probably go to tried and trusted. Look, all the teams know one another inside out at this stage, and you know, there'll be no sideshows in this Leinster final, because Henry and you know, Derek Lee would have hurled together a long time, and even the league or in the chat for round robin there, they shook hands and just got on. Both have jobs to do, and they understand it. But I think there's a greater need for Henry to win than Derek, in the sense that Kilkenny are going for 4 in a row. Galway haven't won one in a long time, and like these lads would love to win a Leinster title. It's a big title for Galway, I feel, on Sunday. Just have the feeling that they'll be. I hope they're on edge for it and bring that kind of ferocious tenacity to the game. If they do, they have the hurling to win it.
That seems to be the sense, Cyril, around Galway at the minute. It's low key, but at the same time, you do feel with the Galway hurling public that there is a pressure on Galway to deliver and Henry Shefflin to deliver. Really, because if you look at it, Kilkenny going for 4 in a row, as you mentioned, but Galway aren't going to want to be beaten here in back-to-back Leinster finals.
No, and then it's Kilkenny that's beaten Galway nearly the whole time. You know what I mean? Whereas against other counties, we're winning here and there. But Kilkenny have, at the last 3 years, have a fantastic record against, especially in the big games that count. And this game counts. Okay, both teams will be in it Sunday evening, no matter who loses. But it isn't fully knocked out. But yeah, it'd be lovely for Galway to come down the road with the Leinster Cup and to be straight into an All-Ireland semi-final. I think for Galway to really go place this year, they need to do that, like, and avoid like the big hitters coming through on the other side until it's a knockout game anyway. Like you look at Limerick and Clare on Sunday, and just suppose that Clare beat Limerick will be still very dangerous going in, like as a beaten team, just as much as a winning team, because they'll still have a full pack to play from. It's the next day then it's knockout. And it's hard to beat a team twice. So Galway and Kilkenny drew, so that at least that going. Both teams have that going for them. But they know one another very well at the moment. Like, and I think the Galway attack should go at the Kilkenny defence. To me, if they have everyone, Kilkenny forwards at the moment are that bit better than their backs. Galway are probably much the same.
Brian, Sir mentions there the direct route through your own playing career. It's a route you went numerous occasions, the direct route, winning a Leinster title and into an All-Ireland semi-final. But how big is it for either side? Ultimately, both sides want to get their hands on the ball with Keith Cup, but to win this weekend, it'd be 70 minutes away from an All-Ireland final.
In terms of the direct route with the use of the ball, Paul, is it? Or the direct route through the championship? Yeah,
just the direct route through the championship.
Yeah, well, probably one leads into the other, because I think in order to win the Leinster final, I think you're going to have to be able to go direct with the ball, to Cyril's point, because, you know, playing through the lines obviously is what you want to try and do and hold on to possession, but no team will win without being able to mix it up, without having, you know, the option to go along when the time is right. You know, and I think, yeah, look, you can't beat winning. You know, winning's a habit, you know, and, you know, both sides will want to win Leinster final get through, seeded, if you like, into the knockout stages. But I think in terms of development of a side, you kind of have milestones along the way in terms of you want to hit, and I think from Galway's perspective, they need if they want to be considered, I suppose, a serious contender for the All Ireland, realistically, like they need to win a Leinster final. It's been too long for them from their perspective with the hurlers they have not to have added another bit of silverware to the cabinet. So I take Cyril's point. I agree with him that in terms of where Galway are at, even though it's only Henry's second season, for that group of players, or for the core group, if you like, I think there's probably more pressure on them to deliver on Sunday, particularly after the disappointment of last year and the performance. It'd be one thing if they had lost last year and died with their boots on and just came up that bit short, but having not performed, I think there's a bit more pressure on this year now not to repeat that, and to come up and really kind of front up, and to get that Leinster title for themselves as much as anything. But look, I know Derek certainly won't be thinking anything less than a win. It's not going to be a case of first season I'm okay, I'll find my feet. It doesn't work like that either, and certainly from a Kilkenny public perspective, they'll be expected to win it as well. But so I'd expect both sides, sort of I can only speak from Kilkenny's point of view, they'll absolutely 100% be going up to win and nothing else. And hopefully, from the Galway players' perspective, they'll be ready, they'll be turning up with that same intent, and we'll get a cracker of a match, because I think the Leinster Championship needs it. It needs these two sides going toe to toe in a proper clash. We need, from Leinster's perspective, we've obviously seen it in a couple of great matches down in Munster, and we're all sick of listening to the boys down in Munster crowing about the great championship they have. I think you've got two good sides here, and hopefully, if both of them turn up on a day, I think we should have a cracker of a match.
Yeah, it's a great point Brian touches on there, Cyril. How badly does the Leinster Championship need a great game this weekend between Galway and Kilkenny?
It really needs it badly, like as you say, because with all due respects, like Westmeath and these, they can have their victories and Antrim, they're all improving, but we have to face facts that the Leinster Championship is not as competitive at all as the Munster Championship. There's 5 teams in Munster, and on a given day, even Limerick, as good as they are, they can all beat one another. After saying that, like it didn't stop Kilkenny all the years winning all the All-Irelands. When you have this stuff, it doesn't matter. But Brian is right. The Leinster hurling counties need a cracker of a match now. You have Offaly coming back into the mix, hopefully again. The under 21s played very well. Minors last year, they're starting to come again. Laois aren't too far away. Like Westmeath had a very good victory. Wexford kind of got out of jail. They redeemed their season. And Antrim kind of forgotten team in this sense. Next year, I think this year coming will be their 4th year up in the Premier in the Division 1, which is fantastic for them. They got a new ladder too coming through, but we really need. These are the 2 strongest teams in Leinster, and we really need them going. What I would love to see is shoulder to shoulder, whip to whip, everything flying on Sunday. Like referee let flow, be a manly game, let the best team win, but you need a cracker. Now I know if you lose a cracker, you say, "Oh, good God!" But Leinster hurling needs this one.
We were just touching there, Cyril, on obviously pressure with Galway this weekend, but even you're talking what a victory could do for Galway, but it feels like this team needs confidence and needs the momentum to win this weekend, just maybe to get maybe the team's confidence up, particularly after that, because after that Dublin game there has been a bit of negativity, and it does feel like Galway do need this confidence and momentum behind them.
Yeah, well, as Brian said there, like a winning can become a habit and losing can become a habit as well, unfortunately. They need this one for themselves, and the public will get behind them. Then the public needs they need a team to go away to get behind, not stuttering and starting and kind of no better team than Kilkenny to bring it over, if you like, because you're going to be in the dogfight with me. You nearly want to be going out the gate and Grove Park, game over to have it won, because they're deadly at a finish as well. But to me, I would hope that we get on the front foot and kind of show great composure on the ball, but kind of a willingness to work hard, be full of energy, fight, scrap for everything, fight on your backs. And if you do that, there's not much more you can do and give it your best shot. But not to kind of come in with kind of a flat performance and say, God, what went wrong there? Did we train too hard? Did we overcooked? Or what the hell is wrong? Everyone just go give it your best shot. Like, and I think they will, because like last year, I'd say Henry was bemused on the line, because he was saying, this isn't what they're doing in training, like, regardless of who they're playing. So I think they owe it to themselves and to Henry for on this one. And they're back in the final where they wanted to be after last year. It's now a matter of pushing on and winning it.
Cyril, to look at the Galway team for the weekend, if we are to kind of somewhat predict it, Ian Murphy, imagine, starts in goal. Fullback Garage Mack. We've had 3 cornerbacks kind of in 2 positions all year of TJ Brennan, Jack Grealish, Darren Morrissey. Who do you see starting in the corners this weekend?
Well, I suppose Darren Morrissey will start. He's been on the last 2 games, and even though Jack Grealish played very well when he came on. No, TJ Brennan has been good up to that. If you were kind of going in that form, they'd be looking at training. It's probably Jack Grealish should start. You know what I mean? They'll also look at the half back line where Fintan Burke was kind of out of sorts last year. I still think they'll pick him. You'll have Burke, Dahi centre back, and the other side Pádraig Mannion. Midfield, you'll have Joseph.
So you don't see Sean Lennon coming in there?
I'd say they'll hold him now. Maybe he'll start midfield. Like Sean Lennon, that was probably his first game ever wing back, and he played well in it. But he's the type of player who could throw him on anywhere. But he brings energy, and he's kind of he floats around the place. He gets stuck in everywhere. You can play him corner forward, corner back, anywhere. Like, but he did a great job. I don't see him starting there now. Midfield, they'll have Joseph Cooney and whoever. The last day, Ronan Blinnan never got going to his own high standards. Like, they could be tempted to put out Tom Annan there and pick another forward, but they might start Blinnan again. It's hard to know. And inside, you're going to have, you'll have Conor Cooney, you'll have Nyland, you'll have Kevin Cooney, you'll have, I think your companion is fit, and you'll have Conor Whelan. Who have I left out there? There's someone else there. Like, you're going to have the regulars.
So you see Glennon or Monaghan picking one of the wing forward positions and the other one going into midfield.
I think Monaghan could be wing forward when they play as a third midfielder. And that, if they had Cathal Mannion, he'd probably be on ahead of young McLaughlin. And McLaughlin didn't get going the last year, the young guy, but you see, it's a big step up. Like when you step out into a big game, they played games against kind of lesser opposition, different ball game altogether when you start at the top.
For sure. Is it better to be bringing the likes of Declan McLaughlin and Liam Collins on than starting them? Do you feel?
I'd say so at this stage, because they haven't enough. Like, this is their first year, kind of just getting on that panel. Like, and they're very good hurlers, but they're really physically, like, they're not that strong yet. Like, they're strong enough, but not to the same extent as the boys. I would say, if you're doing strength and condition for the last 5 or 6 years, you're going to be physically a lot stronger than the lad that has done it for 6 months. I would see them as subs no more than starting.
Just on that team you did pick, Conor Whelan, the last few times he's marked Hugh Lawler, it's safe to say Hugh Lawler's got the better of him. Do you move Conor Whelan from forward?
I thought the last day they had a fantastic duel below Nolan Park. Manly duel, hard tackling, but no dirty stroke. Like, there was one great ball that Whelan won. Lawler lost it, hurl. Whelan's gone inside, and geez, Lawler in his big long hand that took the ball off. Whelan gone on one way. Like, they'll have a duel, but knowing Whelan, like, he'll try to figure out how to beat him. They're too good. Look, it doesn't matter who you play in there. Hugh Lawler is he's a fair test full back. He's a big, strong hurling man, and he's a good hurler. He's not dirty, he's just strong. Whelan likes that. Whelan is due a good game. That, you see, the further away you play Whelan from goal, okay, he's still a good hurler, but he's not as dangerous outside. Like, to beat Kilkenny, to me, you need two or three goals, and he's the one that would be dangerous or get fouled inside. Now, if you have Brian Concannon with him, he would be dangerous as well in there. Like, and he was playing well this year. Unfortunately, he got injured. I don't know how bad or how the last year when he came on, if there's no for that for a few minutes, he was lame again the last day. So hopefully he's all right for Sunday.
Ryan, just on the Kilkenny injury worries, Adrian Mullen looks like he's out of this one with a thumb injury. Mossy Keown and Mikey Buller, what's the word down there?
Mikey will be okay, I think. And Mossy, it was a hamstring. I think it's a hamstring. I'm not sure the severity of it. So I think, I don't know for definite. And then, but Adrian's was a nasty injury. By all accounts, it's a bad one. I mean, there's different reports. There's plenty of chat on the street corners. There's nothing else to chat about but the weather and hurling down here. And you talk to some lads and he's gone for the rest of the season, and you talk to other lads and they're saying, you know, they could chance him, he could be back. But I think what's consistent is that the injury itself was a nasty one. So I don't know. Obviously Mikey will be a big addition, or a big plus coming back. He had a monster game last year against Galway. I think he followed Cathal Mannion around the pitch and didn't give him a sniff of it. You know, I think from memory, I'm not sure did he score a point, but he certainly picked up a ball around the Kilkenny the midfield, kind of Galway half back line, and had an opportunity for one. So, you know, Cyril has mentioned Brian Concannon. He might be the one to pick him up, you know, if he's playing. But Adrian will be a huge loss if he's not playing, because, you know, he's that, you know, I suppose he's taken over, if you like, to a certain extent from TJ there in the forwards in terms of, you know, his range of shooting and his ability to win the ball, and his mobility, his athleticism around the field. So, yeah, we'll see. You know, I mean, there's a couple of options there. You know, for Derek. You know, Richie Reid missed the Galway match, the Wexford match. So he'll be back, as far as I know. And you know, Mikey Carey is back in training as well for the last 2 months. I don't expect him to start, but you know, by all accounts, he's going well.
Do you see Pádraig Walsh fitting into the plans, because he hasn't necessarily started every game this year?
Yeah, Pádraig started, you know, the last day because Richie was out. He played cornerback, you know, down in the league final, and has played a couple of the championship matches. Like I suppose I'm glad to see him back in the backs. You know, the couple of games I've seen him, he had done well, but it does seem like the first choice full back line will be Tommy Welch, Hugh and Mikey, and Cyril is right on that point. The last couple of times Hugh and Conor Whelan have played each other, they've been savage battles, and if I was to pick out one matchup, that's the one I'm looking forward to the most, because the two of them just go at it. There's no messing; they just the two of them go at it, and Hugh is, even if I'm slightly biased to my own club, man, I'd argue he's the form full back in the country, and obviously the All-Star last year would support that. The half-back line, you know, is a little bit, you know, Richie, obviously you got there, and you have Blanchfield and Dara Corcoran. They seem to be the first choice half-back line, if all fit. So, you know, that doesn't obviously then, that means that Pádraig is not in the back six. You know, so that, you know, based on, I suppose, the selection of the last number of games when everyone has been available, that seems to be the preferred half-back line. You know, and then you look at Paddy Deegan will be back, he'll be midfield.
Who'll be there with him now with Mullen gone?
Yeah, I guess that probably the front runner possibly will be Conor Fogarty, you know, who will go in beside him. You know, Adrian gives you a lot of options. I mean, I'd say from 8 up, they're interchangeable. You know, Paddy's played everywhere at this stage, but you know, he played wing forward. You know, obviously he's played full forward for the club, but he's played wing forward for Kilkenny midfield. And obviously Adrian is comfortable playing in any of the 6 forward positions plus the midfield, and you know, it gives you options. So with Adrian gone, it's probably Conor, I'd imagine, possibly midfield, and then you have a combination, probably a 7 or 8 for those 6 positions. But you know, in reality, you're looking at, you know, Owen Cody anyways as a search there, and you know, TJ will be in there. You've got, you know, Mossy, obviously with that hamstring, you know, if he's fit. Billy Drennan is back in the mix, and you know, Tom Phelan there played the last day, did well, got a good goal. You've got John Donnelly and Walter Walsh, you know, so you've got, it can be, I know they were away on a training weekend there last weekend, you know, and usually that dictates a lot, you know. They'll, you know, from my own experience, there's usually skin and hair flying at those ones. They'll have, you know, maybe a 40-50 minute match, and you know, a guy who's on the fringes, that's, you know, if he puts his hands up, that usually bumps them into the starting 15, you know, in that forward selection, you know. So, you know, we'll find out, I guess, on Sunday who gets the nod.
Sure, you're looking there, and you said at the start that you hope Galway bomb the ball down. Kilkenny, you could see Walter Walsh on the edge of the square at stages. You could see both sides try and do this, but do you think there is going to be a pattern where there obviously will be both teams working the ball, but do you expect there will be a pattern where there's going to be a lot of times where both of these teams go direct?
Yeah, well, you see, Paul, yeah, but like what's happening in the modern day is they're called it a sweeper or six one, they call it. But that means then if you walk the ball to midfield, you can be popping over from outside. Now, if you're good enough to score, you can pop it out and wide to it. It makes it easier to get the shots away from outside because there's going to be a loose player out there somewhere if you're good enough to get it to him. But like you're talking there, like say Walter West going in there to square, good in the air. John Donnelly is very good in there as well. Kilkenny have the art of being very good in the air and getting off a quick hand pass. We don't seem to be as good in the air. Like, you'd imagine Conor Cooney should be good in there. Now, Kevin Cooney is good in the air. Like he's a new fella enough, but he has a great leap. He's very good, very explosive. Joseph Cooney is good, but they can't all be in there. But you're going to have to mix it. It's fine working it through the lines and lovely little short passes, but like when the hits go in, the lines usually break down, and someone has to kind of fight for the ball. Then you kind of go back to, you might call it old style hurling, but the ball is still travel faster. Like with all the fitness in the world, and their touch is brilliant and their fitness is brilliant. Would you believe the game is going to actually slow because they're working every ball more or less through the lines? Full back, cornerback gets a sharp look out, might give it a sweep across the wing back, midfield, even back and forth. It's kind of, and then if it breaks down, you have the rooks. Olden type, before, like, that didn't happen in the sense that the cornerback got and there was room to strike it. He struck at the full distance of the pitch and went up to the full forward. It was up to the fellow above to win it. That's kind of gone out of the game to a certain extent. But yet you'll find that most of the goals will come from a direct ball in and someone breaking it around the square and flash it on the ground. Them kind of goals count as well. But you'll find that both teams will mix it. As Brian said there, Kilkenny are kind of, we call it adopting the new style, even before Brian left or coming into it. Wouldn't be as fond of it, say, as Limerick and that, but like Galway have that kind of running style now as well. Like, but again, like they're going to have to mix it, and no matter what style you have or what game plan you have, the big thing is you have to win your own ball. You have to win the ball. If you lose one, you have to win the next one. It's all about the next one, but you have to win it by hook or by crook. That's the most important thing when all is said and done.
Cyril, is Galway's most important matchup this weekend who picks up on Cody?
Well, the way he's been playing against us, like the last two times now, it has been Jack Grealish. You'd have to say he had a good day both days on Jack Grealish. Now, after saying that, he'd probably have a good game in anyone. Now, TJ Brennan, when he went on him the last day in Kilkenny, he did quite well, and TJ had kind of a nightmare the last day. So, like, Henry didn't have a decision to make, like, or it could be whoever's in there will pick him up. But like,
you don't see them deploying someone back to specifically mark on Cody.
Yeah, like Pádraig Manning would be tight if he was put on it, but he might like that kind of a role. Like, and if Kilkenny play one back, which they don't usually, like Galway won't then either, if you know what I mean. If a team plays a sweeper against you, you're kind of forced into having one as well. But you have to have someone that's good ahead and to play it away from their sweeper, as we call it. But like, that'll all happen during the flow of the game. But look, if you're going to find someone will make mistakes, someone will cash in, and like the last day Galway played, they had two very easy goals. That wouldn't want to happen the next day against a team like Kilkenny, or you'd be gone at half time.
It's so fascinating, Brian. Henry Shefflin, Owen Cody's his nephew, and it's probably the most important matchup. Like, Owen Cody is coming close this year to probably Hurler of the Year for him already with what he's showing. Like 3-1 against Wexford, man of the match against Galway.
Yeah. He's I think he's a slow start to the year, earlier on the year, but you're coming into the business end of the season now, and that's where you want your big guys stepping up. And he's a phenomenal player. Haven't seen him obviously at club level, and then this year, just some of the things he's done in some of the matches, watching the close quarters, his touch, his strength, his ability to win his own ball, high ball, play on the shoulder. Whatever about Kilkenny, Ballyhale just seems to be able to produce these guys, one after another, and he's just the next in the line of classy kind of scoring forwards, and all he has on his mind anytime he gets the ball is goal. Get a goal, is the goal on. He's a real goal threat for us. So like Cyril's right, he's had good outings against Galway in the last couple of occasions, and we're hoping that he'll bring that form and continue that on Sunday.
But is it Galway's most important matchup, do you think, this weekend?
I don't see. It's very difficult the way the game has gone. You can't really distill it down into one single matchup, because the game is just too fluid. There's too many good hurlers just to say that it's between these two guys to decide a match. I would argue, and we spoke about earlier on, how Galway use Evan Island could be equally as important, because Evan Island is not the sort of player who will, if they play him centre forward like they did against Dublin, who will be a rangy, dynamic runner coming through and following the ball in. His strength is he's striking, and you want to feed him the ball. And if you're playing him centre forward, you need to ping those 30-yard balls to him and allow him then to take those shots. A little bit like Adrian Mullen for us. He has that ability, he has that in his arsenal to be able to put balls over the bar from 70 yards, 60, 70 yards, comfortably. Whereas maybe other lads, it's their limit and they're reaching at it. He'll stroke them over, and Adrian will do the same. And inevitably, what that does is, particularly as a centre forward, is it begins to ask questions then of the centre back. And if it is Richie that's playing there, Richie likes to sit back and sweep a lot of the breaking ball that will come back. And he's very good at reading again. He does it really well for Ballyhale, and he does it really well for Kilkenny. But if Galway utilise Evan more effectively than they did in the Dublin match, well, then that's going to draw Richie out. And obviously, Henry, no better man than Henry to know this. It being his own clubman playing centre back, and who he would have coached, and Henry having heard that position himself and done similar. So that's an interesting matchup, and there's matchups throughout the field. In terms of even the full back line. Who picks up. If it's John Donnelly or Walter or whoever it is goes in there, and do Kilkenny go direct, and across that we've mentioned Hugh and Conor Whelan at the other end. So any big match at this stage of the year, you can take your pick really, and it's I suppose it's whichever team wins the majority of those matchups, you'll expect will come out on top. And but definitely Owen Cody is becoming the kind of the key kind of focal point for us now in attack. Whereas for years it was TJ. Now TJ is he's there and he's always a threat, but he's less the kind of, we're less reliant on him. I think it's more Owen is stepping up now and taking that mantle on.
Right, well, I would love if we had a Mikey Butler to mark Owen Cody, to be nice for us. Someone that's tenacious and on his tail the whole time.
Yeah, I mean, I was delighted for Mikey last year to get the recognition, in his debut season, because obviously the list of guys he would have gone through, from Mannion to O'Connor with Wexford, through to Tony Kelly and to Galan. He basically took all comers. But he's an out and out defender. And now I say that, funnily enough, he scored a point in his last two games, or not the Wexford match, but the previous two games from cornerback. Because he's not afraid to bomb up the field. But what he loves more than anything, like any good defender, is he just loves defending. He loves stopping his man, and you give him a job to do or a guy to mark. And we saw that last year in Leinster final with Cathal Mannion, who was flying it up to that. He just followed him, and Mannion came back out into his own half back line trying to get away from him, and Mikey was comfortable to follow him and go up the field, whereas maybe a lot of cornerbacks that get a nosebleed, when they went beyond their own half back line, he was comfortable to go up there. And when he gets on the ball, then he just does the simple things. He'll offload it, he'll give it to a guy in a better position, and job done. So, he can't be under, those kind of players can't be underestimated. A bit like Sean Finn, obviously, with Limerick, who's been the standard bearer for cornerbacks over the last number of years, where you can see the loss that he is now for Limerick in the last game or two, where he's just, whoever it is inside in the corner, he just ties him down, and then he just does everything. It just makes it look so simple. So, yeah, look, I obviously, again, I'm slightly biased. He'd be my own clubman, and I know him, I seen him growing up and that, so I'm delighted to see him kind of have a great season last year, and hopefully now it continues on Sunday.
How important is it this weekend, sir, for Galway to utilise Evan Island effectively?
Oh, I think it's very important. Brian hit it there. Like, if they play the right ball to Ireland, like, he's the one that could be loose now more than anyone. Like he that's the way he plays. He's centre forward. He goes kind of to the sides and he goes out midfield. He doesn't rarely go in. Doesn't play from the 45, 50 yards in, which is the other way he goes. And as Brian said there, like most centre backs like to sit, they like to protect the full back line kind of more or less on the V. I thought the last day against Dublin we didn't use him at all. He picked up a few points from there because his own intuition. We weren't playing we didn't need to play a 15 or 20 yard ball game, not 70 or 80 yards in. Play him because he's usually out there. If he gets his hand in the right position, he'll score. That's what he's capable of doing. And the free taking. He's very, very accurate. He's not going to stand under a high puck out and win it because he's not that, no, he's strong, but he's not that big. Like that's not his game is give him the ball, move a fast little ball to him into his, like snap it into his hand and he'll do the rest. That's his game. He's one of the ones that could have a beat. Now, if he has a big game on Sunday, it'll be a big plus for Galway because the last, even though he played very well, they never actually played him. He had to kind of play himself, and he did it well. Would like to get so much more out of him if they could actually bring him into their plans and use him to be the shooter nearly the whole time.
What do you want to see more, sir, from Galway in attack? Is it really their distribution and working the ball out? Do you want to see that better? Has the distribution into Conor Whelan and these inside forwards, has it been poor?
Well, but they haven't been getting the ball. Like they're not winning the ball. That's the big thing. Like get the ball, and if we're able to score, it's fine. But if we're not, give it to the lad in the better position. We're not doing that. Our first option seems to be kind of get our own score. We're happy with that. We're not looking around. Like no, it should be coming with all the matches we're getting. Before we never got these many matches. It was hard enough to be only coming from training field. But now, like we have no excuse. But definitely, we needed to play. If the goal is on, create the extra man and give it to that man and go for the goal. Take it. Don't be afraid. But if there's a point on, by all means, no matter where it is, take it. If it's on, but not from ridiculous angles, like, from the corner flag, you might get one over, you miss 3 or 4. Like, just to play to the guy in the better position and trust the guy that's there. But the main thing is to win the ball. I'd even go as far as to say is both halves to try to win the throw-in, because you win the throw-in, you're straight away on the attack. Lose it and it's the other way around. We need to go ball to attack Kilkenny from the very start, not to sit back in the margin. Because if you do, like we played below in Nolan Park, I don't think we'll come back to 3 kind of big matches in a row. We need to hit the front and kind of drive on from there, just change the pattern really.
What area, Brian, in this game is going to be the deciding factor?
I suppose, like a lot of games, I think the middle part of the field is going to have a huge make it a big deciding factor on who wins. For a couple of reasons, I suppose, which you've kind of hinted on. In order to play that ball to the inside forward line, to the likes of Concannon and Whelan, you need a platform out there. You need to be winning possession and being able to deliver that ball in. And equally, from our perspective, to get that kind of that diagonal ball into the likes of Cody and whoever's playing in beside him, you can't win championship matches realistically by hanging in there, and living on scraps. You need to impose yourself and impose your style of play. And if Evan Nyland is playing centre forward for Galway, he's not going to be there winning dirty ball. That's not his game. So he needs his midfield and his half back line, those 2 wing forwards getting in, winning that dirty ball, and then, as Cyril says, moving it quickly and getting through the hands and asking questions to Kilkenny. But I just think like a lot of games these days and over the last few years, I suppose you kind of have to earn the right first and foremost to play your own game. And we're talking about tactics and playing through the line, but first and foremost, I think you need to win the ball, impose your game on the opposition, and you do that by winning the battle in that middle part of the field. It's what, again, we reference, everything always comes back to the All-Ireland champions. It's what they do better than most. Is that you can go down into the trenches and they're not afraid to do that, and by doing that, then they build that platform to launch a lot of their attacks from. So I'd say that's certainly one area, and then obviously the puckouts. They're such an important part of the modern game. Is how each team, I suppose, sets up their puckouts and uses them. I said the last. I suppose, if you take the league final against Limerick, we didn't do it well. I felt, we did it in patches, but not not enough. And playing the ball to your full back line is fine, but it's what you do after that then. It's how you move that ball either into the half back line and then deliver it, or deliver it, how you move it, say with runners up to the middle part of the field and then deliver it, rather than just hitting it from the full back line, which the goalie could have done anyway. And I thought we didn't do that well against Limerick and played into their hands. And equally from a Galway perspective, I would imagine they don't particularly want to go long on top of a Kilkenny half back line. We've traditionally would back ourselves in that regard. So it's how Galway, I suppose, engineer those plays to create a space to get the ball into, maybe the likes of Glennon and Cooney in midfield, or maybe Mannion at wing back, who could then use that as a springboard into the likes of Conor Whelan and these guys,
And Cyril, how do you see Galway winning their first Leinster title since 2018?
Well, Brian has hit it on the head there. Win the dirty ball, I suppose. Win the famous saying now, win the middle third. Can be a war going out there, but you have to win the ruck ball. Now Kilkenny are deadly at winning them scrappy balls. They're probably the best team around, even better than Limerick had. Because when it goes down the ground, they're great. They seem to be always able to come out of it. It's important that we start doing that and, kind of taking the right option on the ball. A lot of the times, even though it's crowded out there, you get a ball, lads have more time on the ball than they think and get rid of it too quick. Do the proper thing on the ball, make the right decision, scores on, have a go. If it's not on, take a lad on. The main thing is that you have the ball, not to give it away again. That's the main thing, or not to do anything stupid with it. And you'll have the mistakes, that's going to happen. And I suppose Galway have at least shown this year, they've kind of dug themselves out of a hole now against Kilkenny and especially against Dublin. It wasn't any, they played okay, but it wasn't any great individual performances. They just kind of dug it out really, but maybe against better opposition they mightn't be able to do that. I'd much prefer now if they weren't getting into the hole first of all and let the other team in the hole, create it. But they need to set their own tempo on the game. They want to set the pattern in this game, not Kilkenny. They have to, and you do that from the very start. If they don't, they're going to lose. But I think if they do that, they'll win the game.
But just on that, Cyril, I think that's, an important point. I think it's probably not a bad position for Galway to coming into this Leinster final. We've seen it before where, they've shot the lights out, and showed some really strong form against lesser opposition. And then, last year is a case in point, and then just not turning up on the big day. Whereas they've shown character. I was in the park the day they came back, against Kilkenny. They obviously came back the last day against Dublin after slow starts. You can read into that. Yeah, it's a slow start and you need to correct it. Yeah, absolutely. But also it shows a bit of character that they were able to correct things and come back after, maybe when the momentum was against them. They're coming into a Leinster final now knowing that they have to perform. There's no two ways about it, and might necessarily be a bad way either.
Just before we do finish, Cyril, just at the weekend there, the Miners coming up short, deservedly Clare victors. How do you assess that?
Well, I thought it was ridiculous to talk to what's going on in Galway and the local papers and the lads even over the team, saying that this is the best minor team ever and there'll be 5 or 6 of these make seniors. You can't put that pressure on young fellas. They're only 17 years of age. And whatever about talking about when they had the job done, to be at it before the match, I thought was crazy. I know a lot of these that's from under 16 last year. They're good hurlers, but Clare had their homework done. They hit them hard and solid. The short pass didn't work or broke down, and we didn't seem to have any second kind of plan. Well, that can happen to only young fellas. But I really think that the whole build-up was unreal. The local paper Tribune here had photographs of everyone the week before built up. It was as if they had it won. And maybe that's the fault in Galway hurling, because when we do win an underage title, a lot of them think that's the be-all and end-all, and it is really only the first step on the ladder. And it won't stop getting good hurlers. I hope there's plenty of good hurlers on it. I felt sorry for the young guys because it's been written up and been talked about this is a great team, and the talk was crazy. And I suppose the thing that
is that something that annoys you?
Well, no, I just thought they should have corrected it because it's crazy. And I thought for both underage teams, minor and under 20, I've never seen a smaller following from Galway at the both finals. I've never seen smaller. Now I know that things are dear and the weather is very good, but the opposition both is Clare outnumbered us 4 or 5 to 1. you know, and the same with under 20, like, it was the same thing again, like, you know, we're outnumbered completely. We're just hoping Sunday, like, that we have a good follow on there, like, you know, this team deserves, like, you know, you have to kind of follow through thick and thin, but they deserve to be followed. No point of waiting for them to win and didn't follow. They need to be followed, but it was very disappointing this year, the following that went to our especially our underage games. I couldn't believe it, really, to tell you the truth.
Still a massive amount of positives, though, sir, to be taken away from the minor campaign. I think it was 7 games overall, and as you said there, loads of good hurlers that can eventually come through. But as you said there,
yeah, I have no doubt both the under 17 and under 20. You'll get plenty. Look, there's plenty of good hurlers there, and just because they didn't win doesn't mean they're not a good hurler. You'll get as many out of a losing team as you will out of a winning team, but you're lucky to get 1 or 2. This talk of you're going to get 6 or 7, like, senior hurlers straight off from a minor team that's only 17. They're first of all to go to win under 20. Now, Cork are doing it at the moment, and they could be the next kids on the block after Limerick, where they're going about, you know, their business. And you look at the Clare under 20 team this year. That minor team was beaten out the gate by Cork a year or 2 ago. But by God, they got their act together, and they were kind of unlucky. So they're all, you know, all the teams are getting stronger again. Like, you know, there's going to be no weak team. But I just felt that the whole build up for the minor got out of proportion. It just got carried away altogether. Like, you know, and like I felt to put terrible pressure on the young fellas. They mightn't know it, realize themselves, but like being written up as the best team ever without winning it, like whatever we're writing it afterwards, like beforehand, is to me like it was the wrong way to go at it anyway.
Yeah, the really Galway should have been further ahead in that first half, particularly. A lot of wides kind of caught up with them, and then Clare got the run on them. And anytime Galway really tried to get back into the game, Clare just get that score to kind of.
Yeah, well, I thought Clare their home very done. Like Gunning took Nyland on, very good hurler, young Gunning from Broadford, you know, and the wheeling centre forward from Lara. But they were good, but the stop always kind of short passing it. The puck outs broke down. But you see, when you get into a system of short puck outs and you have to put it into a fella's hand, when it isn't working in, the poor old goalie then gets blamed when the thing breaks down because of that. Maybe the wing back didn't catch it, or centre back, wherever to be like that, and that will happen. So, like, you know, like the best laid plans can fall. You want to have a second plan. Now, when things go wrong, they can go wrong. Like, to me, you'll get as many out of it as winning. But I just felt sorry for them because they were put up on a pedestal without doing anything really, and then like, you're looking for the fall. And like, if God
it could be a good lesson, really. Like we've seen the amount of minors.
If God won that final last weekend, they'd come home probably to Cambridge, the captain, they'd be a bit of a crowd round. When Clare won the final, they were piped into Ennis, pipe band, crowds, thousands around, because they're hungry for it. Like, you know what I mean? It was a different, in Galway to be seen as another final. We're not winning senior, so that's only another minor. Clare looked at it different. They hadn't won many, but like they treated it as a big occasion, completely different. But they downplayed it going into it. They had all the process going in. Like Galway a little bit like that on Sunday in the senior. Like we're playing it down because we hadn't been playing well, but we have nothing to lose. Like, you know, to me, Kilkenny should be favourites on Sunday, even though the bookies have Galway favourites.
Do you meet up now as a group, Brenton, on Sunday, Brian, with the 2 teammates involved?
I don't really. We've all got kids. Well, not all of us, but a chunk of us have kids and family, I suppose, and different things going on. My lad is heading up. They're playing on a bus to play. They're playing Main Youth, so in a challenge. So we'll go up and we'll watch that, and we'll actually be free for the match itself because all the young guys are sticking together, which is great. We'll have a bit of peace and quiet for it. But like you generally look, particularly against the final, because the crowds aren't, you know, going to be anything like an All Ireland's final or anything. You'll generally meet a few of the boys. You know, I would have met Tommy down at the league final down in Park of Queef and whatever else, but. You know, there wouldn't be anything organised as such. You know, you'd bump in. She'd always bump into plenty of people you know at the matches. It's great. But maybe on her own side and on the opposition side, you have a bit of crack, and that's what it's all about. But yeah, you know, no, it's kind of we'll go with the flow.
Yeah, for supporters as well who are going to that game, they're showing the Munster final on the big screen in Croke Park as well before the match. If any supporters don't want to miss that.
Yeah, that's a whole other conversation.
Yeah, that's a whole other conversation.
But it's a good idea, though. It's a good idea.
Yeah,
it's probably the best of it. You know, it'd be ideally to be on separate days, but yeah, at least they're showing it anyway.
Yeah, well, you look at the thing is, there's so many matches on now. It reminds me of course, to tick all the boxes and get rid of it, like bang it off. It's pretty. I don't know. They'll have to have a look ahead again.
Yeah.
As we said, go with Kilkenny, 4 o'clock on Sunday. A huge game to look forward to, and here's hoping for a cracking game to bring an end to the Leinster Championship. And it's a good game that the Leinster Championship needs. But that's all on our podcast for today. Thanks a million to Cyril and Brian for coming on.
Thanks, Paul.
The Backdoor GAA Podcast for 2023 is now brought to you by Steede Motor Group. For your personalised vehicle shopping experience, visit steedemotorgroup.ie. We are now delighted to announce our second sponsor of the podcast. Harper Finlay are a professional service recruitment company operating nationwide and are dedicated to helping people find their dream job.